News and programming is sponsored by Desert View Hospital, providing emergency medical care around the clock at 360 South Lola Lane. Learn more at desertviewhospital.com. Physicians are not employees or agents of this hospital. News is also brought to you by J.K. Nelson Law. Call 727-9900 today for your free consultation. If you need a lawyer, you need Nelson.
Tonight on News 46, the local shelter is being looked at by the county commissioners.
And one person is airlifted from the local raceway. News 46 starts now.
You're watching KPVM News 46 with Deanna O'Donnell and Eunette Gentry. News 46, local coverage you can count on.
County commissioners are taking a closer look into complaints about Desert Haven. It's Tuesday, November 20th. I'm Deanna O'Donnell.
And I'm Eunette Gentry.
Well, the Board of County Commissioners had an item on their agenda to terminate the lease agreement between the county and Desert Haven, who manages the local animal shelter. The backup of the item lists many reasons they say that support this move, including alienating local veterinarians for care for the animals, difficulty dealing with the board members of Desert Haven, improper care of the animals, wrongful termination of past employees, which the county had to pay a settlement, refusal to work with the organization Maddie's Project, who travels to shelter across the country to help bring it up to standards. Maddie's Project, who were at the shelter here in Pahrump for a period of time, says that they offered over $100,000 to comply with their operating standards, according to the report. And they say that the board of Desert Haven refused to sign an agreement, turning down the operating money. Maddie's Project wrote the county manager and commissioners a full evaluation with their complaint.
The BOCC report is sponsored by Jim Marsh Automotive of Las Vegas, Kia, Chrysler, Jeep, and Body Shop.
We received additional backup from Desert Haven Animal Society, so I'd like to request the board formally accept it and then break so we can distribute it and it can be reviewed.
Is there enough for the public?
We will make that during the break.
I'll make a motion to accept additional information.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second to accept additional information. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The conditions at the shelter deteriorated significantly from January of 2018 until I left. And in my capacity, I took care of most of the administrative stuff. But I also helped to oversee the input into the computer, making sure the animals were vaccinated, making sure that they were spayed and neutered, helping with the adoptions. I processed the adoption paperwork. I did all of these things as a volunteer. I was putting in at least 30 to 40 hours a week in that capacity. I must tell you that beginning in 2018, when the new board took over, it took a tremendous downward turn. The things that we did as standard procedure and protocol under a normally operated animal shelter were dismissed by the current administration. So my recommendation to you would be to look at all of the facts and circumstances and really weigh in on the side of the animals who are the ones that are suffering.
It is the same size shelter as it was 20 years ago. And how many more people do we have now than 20 years ago? So yes, there's dogs in the halls in little crates because that is what we do. We also take what animal control brings in, and they have designated kennels for them. And so that means we have to put other dogs other places. The kennel has not changed size-wise in 20 years. And our population is 3 times as much as it was back then, or more. And I know for a fact, because I go down there and I take pictures of the animals to try to get them adopted. They are cleaned every day. They take care of the dogs. They love the dogs. And the cats, too. There's the girls that are in there now, they love the cats. That's why they're in there, because they love taking care of the cats. The ones that are out there with the dogs, they'll love the dogs. And we have volunteers, and we do depend on the volunteers because we're only so many people. There's only so many people that are employed because it is a 501c, you know, and we do our damnedest to take care and make sure every animal is happy and healthy.
Make a motion to do what the attorney suggests and that we actually hold this off and do an investigation before we make a decision so that we can justify whatever we do one way or the other.
Who would you like to make the investigation?
I believe that it should be headed by a team from maybe Tim and the attorney and the people at the animal shelter we now have, and throw in a couple of commissioners.
There have been many different people involved from Maddie's that told us they were working on it.
How long has Maddie's been with your organization?
Since August.
And how long have you been in charge of the organization?
Since June. The end of June.
So there were 2 months that we didn't see him, that it was all you.
Yeah, we have to obtain records that had been destroyed before we took over.
Well, this isn't a debate.
Ongoing. If this passes, ongoing, I expect to see a report every month.
You will have a report
Or else at the end of February, you know what's going to happen.
No.
You don't like what I'm saying, but this is how it is.
I don't
want to
really
see the reports.
Yes.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Nay. 3-1.
Well, her last name is Brake, but police say she did the opposite of that when she led them on a car chase around town after allegedly stealing a truck and trailer.
Patrol members be advised.
Kimberly Brake has been arrested for grand larceny, possession of a stolen vehicle and stolen property, failure to stop at the order of a police officer, failure to stop at a stop sign, driving under a suspended license, habitual criminal, and a nationwide warrants at the location of Blosser Ranch Road here in Pahrump. According to the declaration of arrest, police were dispatched to Blosser Ranch Road in reference to a stolen vehicle. The reporting party stated that his 1995 Dodge pickup truck and a gooseneck trailer were taken from his property, and the vehicle was traveling east on Blosser Ranch Road towards Blagg. According to the report, deputies located the vehicle traveling south on Barney Street. They say that the vehicle failed to yield upon utilizing their emergency lights and sirens. That's when deputies say that the vehicle took them on a chase throughout town at speeds of approximately 60 miles per hour. The early morning chase went throughout town off of Betty Avenue, Mark Road, Murphy, and Charleston Park, where the vehicle finally came to a stop at Murphy and Fritz Lane. The white female driver, identified later as Kimberly Brake, exited the vehicle and was immediately taken into custody for allegedly stealing the truck and trailer. Officers said that Brake admitted to taking the vehicle with an individual named Tommy. She said that she was afraid to stop because she had escaped from prison in July and had a nationwide warrant. Kimberly Brake was then arrested and transported to the Nye County Sheriff's Office Detention Center. The Nye County Sheriff's Office says that Kimberly Brake has a long history of felony charges, including burglary, grand larceny, possession of a controlled substance, possession of stolen vehicles, attempting to leave the scene of an accident, and grand larceny of a firearm.
And your court report is coming up after this break.
News 46 is brought to you by William H. Jackson Injury Attorneys. Injured? Get Bill and Robin, your local injury attorneys.
Welcome back. Well, a murder suspect has decided to take a plea deal. Eunette Gentry reports.
In this week's court report, the area man arrested and charged with first-degree murder in connection to the death of 3-year-old Yesenia Kemp has his case now bound over to district court. During Cole Ingelson's preliminary hearing in Justice Court, the court called this matter and advised that an amended complaint had been filed in which the defendant needed to be arraigned on. A rep for the state informed the court that changes in the amended complaint had to do with charging language. Ingelson's public defender, attorney Harry Gensler, waived formal arraignment. A rep for the state briefed the record as to the negotiations. Ingleson will unconditionally waive preliminary hearing and enter a no contest and/or Alford plea at the district court level to second-degree murder with a 10 to 25-year sentence, plus a 1 to 20-year sentence for deadly weapon enhancement. The victim's family will also make statements at the time of sentencing. Both of Ingleson's public defenders concurred with the negotiations. The defendant was screened as to negotiations and the rights he would be waiving by entering into said negotiations. The court found Ingleson had knowingly and voluntarily waived his right to preliminary hearing and ordered that he be bound over to appear in the 5th Judicial District Court on January 28, 2019. Finally, Ingleson was remanded to custody on a no-bail hold. Then the court further released Attorney Gensler from this matter, as that case is now complete at the district court level. The local man arrested and charged with exploitation of an older person and unlawful use of a controlled substance is issued a failure to appear in court. Sean McNally still has 2 open cases in justice court, both relating to animal ownership violations. McNally has a pretrial and arraignment hearing on those animal matters on December 3rd. The case at issue, McNally is suspected of taking financial advantage of an elderly male who says McNally would harass, intimidate, threaten, bully, and manipulate him into giving him more than $100,000. McNally had even been driving the victim's car. The victim told police that when he attempted to turn McNally down after requesting money, McNally blew up and threatened that he would sue and take the victim's car, his house, and everything he owned. The victim also says McNally instructed him to open a joint bank account to show that they had a relationship with each other. Officers say that when they questioned McNally, he admitted that he has a $100 a day heroin addiction and that he mixes it with meth and marijuana to function. In court on October 10th, it was noted that one of McNally's cases was not a part of the negotiations with the defendant's other cases. The state is not seeking jail time on that matter, and the appointment of a public defender is not necessary for that case, and requested a pretrial hearing. So the court set pretrial for December 3rd, 2018. This has been your court report. I'm Eunette Gentry for News 46.
All right, here's Angela Miles with today's Business First Brief.
Tapping our news, selling in Bitcoin intensified this week. The cryptocurrency dropped below 5,000 Monday and has lost $41 billion in value, falling 21% during the past week. It's a far cry from that epic rise. Traders say the recent split of the digital currency into 2 versions sparked the selling spree, and now stop orders are kicking in. Taking a look at the overall trading market, according to data compiled by Dow Jones, Turkey Week tends to strut out returns for investors. Since 2012, Thanksgiving week has finished up. Urban Outfitters is reporting a record profit for the 3rd quarter. Shares rose in the after-hours trading session. The retailer, popular with teens, earned $78 million compared to $45 million a year ago. A big landing for Lockheed. The defense company won a nearly $23 billion contract to build 255 F-35 fighter jets.
Thanks, Angela. Now Fire Chief Scott Lewis gives us an update on Saturday morning's structure fire on the south side of town.
About 1:30 in the morning on Saturday, we were dispatched for a report of a fully involved structure fire. As we were responding, we could see the orange glow in the sky and a large column of black smoke presenting. We arrived on location and found a single-wide manufactured dwelling was fully involved. With an immediate double-wide manufactured dwelling as the exposure. We determined that it was a vacant structure. The residents had recently moved out. We commenced a defensive exterior attack, which means we protected that double-wide, and then we put a large volume of water on that single-wide and controlled the fire in short fashion.
This is a suspicious fire, right?
It is, because there was no power to the property. There was some reports of some vehicles in the area that fled as law enforcement and fire department arrived. Unsure as to what their connections are. There's been numerous law enforcement activities on this particular property in the past.
And then, so you were able to contain it to the one structure?
We did. We contained it to the original structure of origin. Even though the double wide was starting to smoke off, the strategy and the tactics deployed by the firefighters quickly quelled that, and there was no further extension.
Where's the investigation go from here?
The investigation works with law enforcement, and we're trying to determine who may have had access to that property immediately before the fire was discovered.
And a driver was airlifted from the track at Spring Mountain Motorsports over the weekend.
Yes, on Saturday we were dispatched a report of a motor vehicle accident with injuries. Crews responded. They found apparently a vehicle may have left the roadway and impacted a stationary object. There was no extrication required. However, the patient did sustain injuries consistent with flight. Mercier was laying on the property, and that patient was subsequently flown to trauma. It's my understanding that they were actually involved in track activities, yes.
And stay tuned to KPVM. We have much more local news for you right after this break.
You're watching KPVM News 46. News 46. Local coverage you can count on.
Welcome back. Director of Canine Encounter Training from the National Law Enforcement Center on Animal Abuse has been training officers at the Nye County Sheriff's Office on how to read dogs' behavior since a local homeowner's dog was shot by a deputy last year when he responded to an alarm at a residence here in town.
We have an aggressive dog expert out here. This is, I believe, his third trip. And he teaches all of our academies now. He also had gone in and taught all of our officers after we had our dog shooting. We never wanted that to ever happen again. So we went to the best guy around. He's the fellow that developed aggressive dog strategies for the Department of Justice.
And there comes the dog. All right, at this point, we've been warned that there might be a dog present, not necessarily by dispatch, by the presence of toys. Dog comes around the corner, but you have some space here to make decisions.
Throughout Nye County, we interact with animals, and animal control isn't always there. So therefore, people have to be able to read animals. Years ago, we had to read horses and cows, sheep, that kind of thing. But anymore, it's just it's smaller animals. Well, he's basically teaching alternative actions. And only use deadly force when it's absolutely necessary. And to be able to justify that deadly force. Up to that point, he is teaching alternate ways of handling each one of these dogs and showing different types of aggression, because all dogs aren't aggressive the same way.
We've had the Virgin Simulator for several years. I think we initially purchased it in 2007, and for the last probably 5 or 6 years, it's just been in disrepair and obsolete. Some electrical components stopped working or would work intermittently. So for the last year or two, we've been trying to get the funds to get the updated system. And with the updated system, it comes with a whole new slew of scenarios. Some of them you saw, they got smart and started including some animal scenarios. And so now there's an entire training module and role-playing scenarios related specifically to animals, as well as the shoot, no-shoot scenarios, the escalating, de-escalating dialogue scenarios. Some of the scenarios that are covered, there's a lot of mental health issues that are intended to train the students to learn how to adjust their dialogue and their demeanor when they're interacting with somebody that might have a mental illness. Very important. There's one scenario in particular where a second officer arrives on scene after the student officer has calmed the mentally disturbed individual down, and that agitates the situation. And the intent behind that is to teach them that it's okay to ask your fellow officer to take a minor role in this call. I've got this under control. Let me keep this dialogue going. You're agitating the situation. Wow. It's very realistic, and even I'm not a great actor, and even it's hard to not get immersed in the scenarios and play along, and you start to feel the energy and the sort of adrenaline that goes along with the scenario that you're playing out. It gives us a chance to expose them to these what-if scenarios that we can talk about all day long. This is the 4th academy that I've ran, and they always ask questions that you just can't give them a black and white answer for. Well, what would you do in this situation? And you have to tell them that with all the variables, I can't tell you exactly what I would do in that situation, and they're left with sort of this gray area that they are left to figure out when they get in the field. This helps expose them to scenarios where they can clearly experience some of the emotions and some of the thought processes that go along with these scenarios, and then have some preemptive knowledge when they hit the streets on how to handle these things. We have a responsibility as an agency to change the culture of law enforcement in general away from using deadly force as an option in dealing with animals, and find alternate ways to deal with them.
Well, the annual powwow at Petrick Park was well attended by locals and visitors.
Lighting up the way, Valley Electric Association.
The annual Pahrump Powwow was held this weekend in Petrick Park. The three-day event featured dancing, drumming, lots of vendor booths, and lots of food and fun. Tribal dancers and drummers from all over attend this event, which is put on by Paula Elefante and her team. One of the highlights of the powwow is the Grand Entry, which occurs on Saturday and Sunday morning inside the circle. We spoke to Paula Elefante shortly before this year's event. So what is Grand Entry?
Grand Entry is when all of the dancers line up. It'll start out with the flag carriers. They'll have the American flag, the Nevada flag, the POW flag, and followed, I believe they're going to follow them with veterans that are here that want to be in Grand Entry, then followed by the dancers, and dancers are usually in age order, with the seniors being the first in.
Now here's Peyton Kingston with an adorable dog available for adoption right now.
Save a Pet is sponsored by Jim Marsh Automotive, Las Vegas.
Hi, I'm Peyton. I'm here at Desert Haven Animal Society, and today I am here with Gus. Gus is a super sweet black, brown, and beige terrier mix. If you would like to see Gus or any of his other friends, you can give us a call at 775-751-7020. We're off of Seary Lane behind the Nye County Courthouse. You can check us out on Facebook at Desert Haven Animal Society, or check us out on the web at deserthavenanimalsociety.org.
News 46 Weather Cam is brought to you by Glenn Lerner Injury Attorney's Office in Pahrump. In a wreck, need a check? Call 702-877-1500.
Well, it's time to take a look outside through our Glenn Lerner weather cam at our current conditions. Look at those sparkling lights of Pahrump. And the sun has set. The weather is getting a bit nippier, so we'll take a closer look at your forecast right after this break.
You're watching KPVM News 46. News 46. Local coverage you can count on.
Welcome back. Now let's look at our highs across Nevada today. Pahrump tops out at 67 degrees. Amargosa 69. Death Valley 77 for the high. Beatty 65. Goldfield 55. Tonopah 53. Fallon bottoms out at a chilly 51 degrees, and Fernley 52 degrees for the high. And the lows across Nevada. Pahrump 41. Amargosa 37. Death Valley 49. Beatty 35. Goldfield 26. Tonopah 24. Fallon a chilly 21 for the low, and Fernley 24 degrees for the low. And tonight will be clear with a low of 41 degrees. The average this time of year is 36 degrees. Sunset was at 4:32 p.m. Winds are out of the southeast at 6 miles per hour with gusts up to 8 miles per hour, and humidity is 19%. And tomorrow will be sunny with a high of 69 and a low of 49 degrees. The UV index is low at 3. Sunrise will be at 6:26 a.m. Winds will be out of the south at 9 miles per hour with gusts up to 14 miles per hour, and humidity drops to 15%. And looking ahead at our 7-day forecast, Thursday will be partly cloudy with a high of 61, low of 38. Friday, the sun comes out again, high of 61, low of 39. Saturday will be sunny with a high of 63, low of 36. Sunday will be partly cloudy with a high of 59 and a low of 36. Monday, the sun comes out again, high of 61, low of 37. And Tuesday will be partly cloudy, high of 63, low of 41.
All right, that's going to wrap up this edition of News 46. I'm Deanna O'Donnell.
And I'm Eunette Gentry. Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you again tomorrow.
Good night.